So Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus is the newest FMV from Wales Interactive and Goodgate Media, and it released on March 18th of this year. The story in this FMV centers around a sort of murder mystery that's going on within this family, as the title character, Uncle Marcus, is slowly dying due to a poisoning that he believes happened at the most recent family meeting. And he's asked his niece Abby to try and figure out who it was that poisoned him. I say that it's sort of a murder mystery only because technically Uncle Marcus wasn't like flat out murdered and is slowly dying from this poisoning, which is a little different than your average murder mystery case. But nevertheless, this absolutely has the feeling of something like Clue and definitely Knives Out. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Knives Out was like a big part of the inspiration for this, and also an inspiration for a lot of the dialogue and the character traits. And we have quite the array of characters in this that are pretty unlikable, off-kilter, definitely a bit over the top, which is all played for laughs to a certain extent, but is also filled with very real problems and awkward tension that can exist in anyone's family, and I really like that aspect of it. So the main line of the story happens during a family quiz night where the whole family is attending aside from Uncle Marcus, and this is where you need to bring out your best detective skills to try and get as much evidence as you can about the family meeting where Uncle Marcus got poisoned. I was actually surprised at just how tough it was to get the info from all of the family members. There are certain characters that are more talkative than others and won't mind you just straight up asking about what happened at the meeting, but others are much more hesitant and you have to finesse your way around your conversations with them so that they might start to divulge the information without you ever like having to dig in too much. And while you're gaining evidence on certain characters, a bar will start to go up that you need to get about 2/3 of the way full so that you can accuse them of the poisoning. This is also not a very long game though, so you very well might not figure out who the killer was on the first go, or you just simply won't have enough time to get enough evidence on somebody to accuse them, and the game knows that, so whatever info you find on each run is saved and you can continue to try and find more info on the following runs. Unfortunately though, the following runs can sometimes be a little tough to get through because the skip option to go through the scenes you've already seen before doesn't work every time, and you're going to be forced to sit through some of those scenes again and again. But thankfully there is a lot of dialogue here that was like shot for this, and you know, a scene that you might think would be the same as before will be filled with something entirely new, and that was something that I was really surprised with again, because there have been some FMVs lately that felt really rushed and had very little to offer when it came to the variety of the scenes and dialogue, and just didn't have a lot of like replay value. And so with all that being said, like I honestly do think this is easily one of the better FMVs that Wales Interactive has ever made. The characters in this like very well might be some of the most unlikable people, but they were able to pull it off in the same way that all of the characters in Knives Out did, where it was just a blast to watch that dysfunction unravel in front of your eyes. And this is a really cliche thing to say when you like something, but honestly my biggest problem with the game is that it was too short. On every run, like even when I knew that it was about to get to the end, I still hoped that maybe one of my dialogue choices was going to lead to a further part of the game that I hadn't seen yet, because there's just so much potential for the story to keep going, and talking to everybody during this family quiz night is just a lot of fun. The concept alone of an FMV murder mystery is also just a really good one, and I'm surprised it hasn't really been done in this format before. I suppose the one thing that it is lacking though is having that really interesting detective at the forefront of it, like we got with Daniel Craig in Knives Out, or Kenneth Branagh in The Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. There's really no character here that we can continue to follow on another murder mystery journey, which would have been a lot of fun. Another thing to point out is that this is done completely over video calls, and I'm assuming that's because this was done during the pandemic, which I think a few of the recent FMVs, like they've been doing that a lot recently, and it's honestly pretty smart. And that format's going to be hit or miss because there's always the chance of it kind of feeling flat or cheap when it's just over video calls, but I didn't feel that way about this one at any point. You know, I've never actually had wine before, but there's something about this game that like really made me want to just have a few glasses on, you know, especially a Friday or Saturday night while just playing this game, watching this family tear itself apart. And that's really the charm that this game has, that this FMV has. Like the family are unlikable people, but of course that's the entertainment of it all. Again, if I could have like gone on another hour or 2 hours with this family, I totally would have been on board for it. But yeah, aside from that, you know, that's all I've got for Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus. I would definitely recommend this one if you are a fan of FMVs. This one is so much better than a few others that I've played in the past few years, I guess I would say. You know, it's upper tier for sure. I don't know if you're gonna love this one. It's not like, it's still not amazing. Like I haven't played an FMV that just like blew me out of the water, but this one is definitely one of the better ones. And the price for this right now on Steam is also just like around $12 or so, which I do think is a pretty decent price for a game like this because it does have some pretty good replay value. But yeah, that's all I've got for this one. Thank you all so much for watching this. I hope you're doing well. I hope to see you all in the next one. And until then, everybody, take care.
How to do that? I think it could come in very handy.
I'm sorry that I haven't been round to see you in a while.
Oh, don't worry, love. I get updates off your mother. Well, when she can be bothered to check up on you. I was hoping I might see you at the meeting, but I think you made the right choice keeping away.
Sounds like I did.
Awful it was, love. I don't know how much you've already heard, but there was trouble all over the shop. Even Toby, Mr. Peace and Love, he lost it. I was getting myself a drink in the kitchen, and he burst in a world of his own, furious with your Uncle Marcus, saying something about how he'd left him no choice.
What does that mean?
He wouldn't tell me. Do you think we should switch him back on before he notices?
Probably.